Thank you. Good morning.
Glad to have you here. Hold that mic up so we can hear you.
Oh, yeah.
That's
There you
it.
go.
So I'm going to ask you some questions, very basic questions. I'm going to get right to the nitty gritty. I heard that you recently wrote a book.
I did.
Tell us about that book.
Well, I've been friends for many years. That people that knew about my background requesting that I write it down. So, because it takes too long to tell it all, and finally I got going on it a couple of years after it was before the last reunion, but I just was picking away at it, and I finally got it wrapped up this year, and in a month probably it's going to be on Amazon, 2 at the most. But it's about my flying life. It's about all I've ever done. I never really had a job. So it starts out kind of like an autobiography when I was a young kid growing up, but that's just the introductory part. And then 1/3 of it is the U.S. Army. Of course, that's my Vietnam experience mostly. And I did 4 years in the Army. Well, actually 3 years, 8 months, 21 days. But you guys know how that works. And then the middle third is the U.S. Navy. I did 16 years in the U.S. Navy. I had broken service at 2 different Navy tours. One was a carrier pilot, and that is where I met Faye.
The best part of your life, for sure.
She was on a carrier?
Yes.
So, how did you meet Faye? Tell us about that.
Well, I'll try. She'll tell you. She was a lifeguard at the officers' pool in QB Point, Philippines. She was 17. I was a little bit older, and I had her save my life. Yeah.
So you did a fake drowning so that you'd get mouth to mouth with her?
Said mouth to mouth, quick. No, I didn't go to the pool at the club. I was always going to town when I got off the ship. You can't afford the aircraft carrier in Vietnam in those days was $1 million a day just to run that ship. It's probably several million a day now. So in peacetime, we spent half our time in port and half our time at sea practicing to be ready and to save money. So the import periods were 2 weeks, and you're at sea 2 weeks. And, in port, everybody kind of gets to relax and we go into the local town, and that was Olongapo. And Subic Bay was a big naval base in the Philippines. And it was a lot of fun, and so I was hanging around with the guys, and we would go off base. Well, about the last 2 weeks of the cruise, we're getting ready to think about going home. So they're, getting the aircraft ready and loaded on the ship, and all the supplies we need to make that Transpac run a couple of weeks, and we have a big party going home party. So I was hanging out. I was in the club there one day, and Faye wandered in, and I was talking to her. I said, "Well, what are you doing Friday or next week?" She said, "Nothing." I said, "You want to go to the party with me?" So that was it.
Huh?
Yeah.
How many years have...
Yeah, well, of course.
How many years have you and Faye been married?
47, did I guess right this year?
47. And you have a beautiful daughter.
One daughter, she's 34.
Yeah, and how's she doing?
Great, she's a nurse practitioner. She lives in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And psychiatric nurse practitioner is good for me. And but the beauty of that, she mostly manages people's meds. So she can do it from her whatever that
iPad,
is.
yeah.
Well, she has actually the Apple computer. But anyway,
nice.
Like we just did on the Zoom calls.
Yeah, telehealth.
Exactly.
Telehealth.
Yeah, so she does that from anywhere, and she does it from her home normally. But when she travels, which is why she chose that job, she could do it from her little pickup camper that she's bringing up next week to Alaska. spend a couple months with us, and she has to do that because her dog has a little pit bull in him, and they won't let him go fly.
So in regards to your service, you flew jets and you flew helicopters, is that correct?
Right, yeah, that's, the Army would let you be a helicopter pilot with a high school diploma, which I didn't have, but my little brother, he dropped out of high school before me and told me about the program, and so I finished high school and went down and signed up, and I'd never been in an aircraft of any kind, so I had to study the book and see what terms meant and so forth. I passed the written test. They sent me to Salt Lake City before a board of officers and a couple pilots, and I passed that. So I went through boot camp in Fort Polk, Louisiana, like everybody else, but I wore the Aviation Schools Command patch on my fatigue suit. I was going directly from boot camp to flight school, helicopter flight school. Everybody else went next door to AIT, Tigerland, and that worked great. And so what was like 9 months of helicopter school, primary in Texas and advanced in the Hueys in Fort Rucker, Alabama. And then before I went to Vietnam, a few of the guys were offered it was easy for me somehow. I never operated equipment or anything except motorcycles, I guess. But flying came easy, so I had good grades, and so that's who gets first choices and so forth. So that's how I ended up going to Cobra School before I went to Vietnam, and ended up being the first Cobra pilot assigned with Bob. But Bob wasn't there yet. But we didn't have any Cobras when I got there. I beat the Cobras there. But I was about within a month. They brand new Cobras flew in there, and they said, "There you go, there's yours," and that was a lot of fun. And
which flight school was harder, the helicopter school or the jet school?
Both difficult, totally different way of doing things. The Army and the Navy was a lot longer, maybe twice as long, just a lot more involved with the jets. But yeah, Cobras or helicopters, it was half a day in the classroom with program text, and you studied this portion, and you went up to the instructor and you repeated this memory items, and he'd sign you off, and then that second half of the day you're at the flight line flying, which was of course the fun stuff. And we did that for 9 months. In Vietnam, we knew where we're going, and so that was fun. But then the jets, I got out of the Army. I was back at the Cobra School instructing, and we all called in and said, "Okay, everybody's going home early. The war's winding down. We don't need you anymore." And so I got out and used the GI Bill to go to college. And I did that in 2 years, got a bachelor degree in air commerce and a bachelor of science degree. And then I applied to the Air Force and the Navy to fly jets. And the Navy called first, so I went to the Navy. And of course, one of the few guys, there's three that I've ever met, that while they were in Army flight school, used their GI Bill, which we could at that time, on active duty, get flight training. So on the weekends, we started getting weekends off. Buddy and I went to the local airport, had a grass runway and a couple of Cessna 150s, got all the fixed wing ratings. Private, commercial, instruments, instructor, everything but balloons, I guess, multi-engine. So I had all these ratings, and so I knew how to fly airplanes. I could instruct in airplanes. So I breezed through the Navy's basic flight school, which determines where you go from there. It's pipelines. You go, the high grades get jets, and then the middle guys get props, and then the slow guys get helos. So that's the first pipeline. So I went jets. I got jet scores. That was a lot of fun. Easy for me flying. But it was the jet. What a new world. It's just so much faster. You got to think like 10 miles ahead of the thing all the time. But and they don't hover. Yeah. But yeah, I've been 1,000 miles an hour in the jet stream going eastbound.
1,000 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm. And I've been over 500 miles an hour, within 500 feet of the ground. One of my exos on the ship, he was ex-Top Gun CO. So he wanted to do a little air show every time we came back. I was his wingman. And he was a senior officer, so he'd tell the air boss, who's a senior officer running the tower on the carrier and controlling all the traffic, he'd say, we're going to be last, we'll hold overhead. Everybody's recovered. All the other aircraft are aboard. And so the air boss knew what was going to happen, so he alerted everybody that we're going to do a flyby, just for morale purposes. Fortunately, we didn't have any accidents doing that, but it's totally safe, I think. So he would.
I think.
So everybody aboard. He said, "Okay, Chuck, get by 6 o'clock." I said, "Okay," and I'd slide back there, and I got two giant tailpipes in front of me from the F-4 Phantom, J-79 engines, putting out 15,000 horsepower apiece. It's a Mach 2 fighter, so we're doing like 400 knots or so. I don't know. I could not look anywhere but here and keep a couple rivets lined up. It was total concentration. So I couldn't look outside the aircraft. I couldn't look at my instruments. I couldn't look at anything except that. You do that, that's a formation flying like the Blues do. They're looking at a couple rivets on that plane next to them. We flew within 10, 20 feet of each other all day long. It was standard with jets. So I was back there, and we made a low pass over the ship, pulled up, and he does a couple of victory rolls, simple aileron rolls. Simple if you're the lead, but so I could hang in there. I stayed right with him and came around, did our landing, and my buddy said, "Yeah, it looked really cool." I said, "Well, whatever." I didn't see it.
When you see, like when you watch a movie like Top Gun or something like that, when the plane got into I don't know what they called that, like a wash where it lost control, like a jet wash where the plane's spinning. Does that really happen? Is that real?
No.
Okay.
Hollywood is not real.
I'm talking about the jet, though. Is it?
I know.
Okay.
So much of it is I pick apart that stuff. I shouldn't. In fact, it has to listen to it. Oh, that's so fake. That never happens. It's not possible. But
Yeah.
Nobody else knows that, but me and other instructor pilots that have flown those things have done that. The straight wing jet. The beauty of that is you can't hurt yourself. That's the trainer we started in. It was straight wing, had two jet engines, center line thrust, meaning you don't have this asymmetrical thrust going on with like the airliners with the jet engines way out there, and so that made it safe and stable, and tandem seating, and so you could fly that thing. Any of you can fly at any attitude, but that one you could pull. The students would want me to tail slide it. Okay, so I'd pull it straight up, pull the throttles up, because if you leave the throttles up, eventually you slow down, and the air starts going through your engines backwards. You get flames coming out the intakes, and the compressor stalls. It's not good for the engine. It really doesn't hurt it much, but you don't want that. So you pull the throttles back to idle, and I just wait, and okay, there's speed 0. Okay, we're going backwards now. Eventually, we call it lawn dart. You're gonna end up holding everything in the middle. You're just gonna end up pointing straight at the center of the earth with the tail behind you. Well, that's what you want because your speed's building up and everything's good. So we do that, and you could go any direction, and we did. And they do a couple of these. We just sit there and hang on to it, and we did this at, of course, 20,000 feet or so. So a lot of time before you think about it, And then eventually, like I say, you build the speed back up. You just pull it back to level, put the throttle back up there, and okay, what else you want to see? And I even did the point up was the swept wing jet, like the Phantom. The frontline fighters, they're not straight wing like the old World War II. They're swept wing, faster. Also very unstable. So I spun the T2. I was one of the 2 fighter pilots that was in my training squadron when I got back from the ship. The other one was a Marine. He was a Phantom pilot too. So we did all the fighter maneuvers and spin training maneuvers in the squadron. So we spun the T2, and it was different than spinning a Cessna 150. But again, we did this at altitude. And but the Phantom, you don't want to do that. You can't recover a lot of the time. That's why eventually you pop the drag chute out. Now, the little trainer jets don't have that, but the fleet they all have drag chutes to help you slow down when you land, because you're going to burn up your brakes and pop your tires and everything else if you don't have a parachute. And so that would hopefully straighten you out and you could recover, but not always. So we tried never to lose control in the swept-wing fighters.
What do you think about, you've been to several reunions now. Do you have any favorite memories of the reunions that you can remember?
You mean other than Faye going under the table last year over there?
Yeah, I remember
that's
that.
One of the,
yeah,
and I love the Tommy off the dock thing. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, that's my favorite. But my big remembrance was the first time. Of course, might have been Branson, but I think it probably was.
Yeah,
and, yeah. Of course, Greg's there.
yeah.
But walked in that room. 50 years.
Yeah, yeah.
You're those guys?
Yeah, yeah.
And they're all wounded and stuff. First guy walked up to Jim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's very emotional for me, obviously. So that's why I keep coming. Even though I'm embarrassed, but can't help it. So,
No, I think, you know, I told Bob last night in the food line, and I probably shouldn't have rubbed his ego again. I think, you know, he doesn't need the strokes, Bob. But I told Bob, I said, isn't it great that you can be here amongst guys that really are so thankful that you and your guys had their backs. They were on the ground having each other's backs, but in the sky, when they would need you, you were there. And I said, and Bob, you just looked at me and were like, what? And I said, it's so powerful, the power of what you did for the veterans. And that's why it's so great to have you, because, you know, it's again that you just did your job, but you saved lives, and you're a lot of the reason why these guys are here today, and that's a pretty phenomenal thing.
yeah, that's Big John tells me every time I see him. Yeah.
Well, listen, you're pretty awesome, and I think I don't know. I think the best part of you is sitting right over there in that seat.
I
I
do
mean,
too.
she's a firecracker.
Everybody
Yeah,
knows that.
yeah. John, Father, Dad.
Tell everybody about when we first met Chuck, and you said, Chuck, we'd like to have you say a few words.
Oh, Chuck said, no, don't ask again. And I think he even threatened that he wouldn't come again if we put him on the spot.
Like now.
I forgot you said that, by the way. Please come back again. No, but, you know, I remember you just said, in fact, I think what you said was, I don't have much to say. I don't have anything. I think your exact words were, compared to these guys, I don't have much of a story. Yeah. And I said, that is absolutely not true at all. You have I mean, we could be here for several days just talking about your commercial career, your Vietnam. I mean, you have, and then you and Faye could do a TV show just on your Alaskan life and all of the benevolent community work you do in the Philippines. It's unbelievable how you just go, and you give. So.
Well, if I was you, I would. You know, and you're like Obama. I mean, I'd love to play basketball with that guy. He just, you know, he can sit down and have a beer with him. Who cares what his political views are? I don't.
You know what's awesome? I've never been compared to Obama. This is the first time that I've been told.
You're such a good speaker. Well, no, actually, you show emotions too.
Yeah, well, I try.
He never does.
Yeah.
Like Bobby, he has no emotions. He has no heart there. So I don't know what it is. I'm jealous of that.
Yeah. Well, give our buddy here a hand. Thanks, Chuck. You did a great job, my friend. Thank you. Thank you. Well, we might have time for one more this morning. Let's see here. Let me pick a name. Laura Quintrell. Laura Quintrell. Oh, she had to get a little sip of the helpful water there. Okay, that's good. I'll take a hit too. Good to have you this morning. I got this one. Come on, give a hand to the the lady Wolfhound herself this morning. So, you always wonder if we take it personal when we go to talk and they all get up and walk away. Hey, come sit down. Hurry up.
They can hear us.
So let's talk a little bit about, first and foremost, you've got 4 kids, four stepkids, myself,
Stepchildren.
my brother, Tammy, and Laura. And I'm thankful you've said I'm your favorite many times.
Well, you tell me to.
Yes. How many grandkids do you have?
12.
And how many great-grandkids?
3.
3.
Yeah.
And
They're
your
amazing.
great-grandkids are Truett, Audrey, and
Luca.
Luca. Oh, Luca. Yeah, that's right.
Luca.
So I just, I want to ask you about a couple things with Dad's fall. I don't mean this disrespectfully, but you're kind of a frail person. You're very tender, and not fragile, but I just feel like sometimes, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
And how, like when something happens to him over the years, have you built up some kind of a strength, or, how does it work if he falls or hurts himself, or like because he's fought diabetes for
Oh, yeah. We've dealt with that for a
30
long
years,
time.
and you've seen him get a low blood sugar. How have you done that? What inside of you has helped you deal with working through his health?
Well, I just try and calm myself down, and then I deal with whatever he needs me to do for him.
Do you
That's all you can do.
do you panic?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially with the dialysis machine. At the beginning, when we were using that for his dialysis.
Yeah.
But,
So
yeah.
so you might not know this. So when Dad took his fall, they left Laura at the VA and took him in the ambulance by himself.
Yeah.
And basically I don't even think I think at the time, I think Dad maybe told you, like, hey, just go back to the house.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you thought it was that big of a deal. When you dropped her off, I think you just thought, oh, I'll come pick him up later.
Yeah.
And so then you get told that he's in trouble.
Right.
They have to do procedures.
Right.
And then I'm getting called and some of that, and Laura Louise and the other family. So what was your first reaction when you found out that he was in serious trouble? Like, what did you do? How did you deal with that?
It's kind of a blur. I was at home and everything, and then I can't remember when someone called me and said that, he was going into surgery and all that. And that's when it happened so fast, too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And so then you have to. I remember showing up there. That happened Friday. It came on Sunday, and we just started working through the process of dealing with the situation. Through that process, what was before the dialysis machine came to the house? What was some of the most difficult stuff you had to deal with?
well, he was in the hospital, and I'd go back and forth to see him. And then when the dialysis started, when we had to learn how to use the machine. And when he was still doing the dialysis at the hospital, and I'd take him down. He would get home eventually. When you came home, I would take him down there. That was a 17-mile one-way trip.
Now the reason why
Then back to the house,
Yeah.
and then pick him up 4.5 hours later.
Yeah, now, not to make a big deal of this, but 90% of your life before the fall is you, the cats,
The dog.
the dog, the other dog, the big dog.
Oh, yeah.
But he gets up, he pretty much will eat what he wants, drinks his coffee, goes out to the shop, goes to the mail, goes to Costco.
Up his office,
He
yeah, his
goes
office.
and grabs you, goes to his office, gets you a burger, a filet, but you had your swirl and he had his.
Right.
And so now you have to get up, you have to take him to dialysis. That's a lot for you to adjust to where now you're driving
Well, I did a lot of
35.
driving, and
I mean-
I sure did. I needed it.
Yeah.
because I hadn't driven that much anymore. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think I do pretty good now.
Yeah. So you remember when you got him home from the hospital and he got an infection
Oh yes, I remember.
and we started to panic a little bit, and it's very hard when you see someone you love so much going through something, when
It's very difficult. Yeah.
struggling.
Yeah.
So then on top of that, you have to learn. So I remember you calling and you guys telling me that you had to go through 8 weeks of dialysis training.
It wasn't that long, actually. We
What
did
I meant to say was you went to how many weeks of dialysis training?
I started like 2 weeks before he did, learning how to do the connections on the catheter, the blood, all the blood things.
And they basically you have to hook, he has a chest piece, a catheter, and you have to take the wires and hook in the send and hook in the receive.
Well, they're tubes. I mean, the blood
Right.
lines that hook to the machine.
And then, but you have to do all that.
Yeah, because you can't see what's going on here. But there are some people that do it on their own. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So
But that's pretty amazing that you
Yeah.
stepped up to the plate and have helped him. Has there been a time when you messed it up or did it wrong?
oh yeah, of course. One time I didn't do a clamp and a little bit of blood was coming out, and I kind of panicked and put that clamp back on.
What's been your biggest encouragement watching him through this process? What are you? Tell me what's going good in the process.
Well, he had OT and PT, and that helped quite a bit because he was really in the bad shape when he got home.
Occupational therapy and
Occupational
physical.
Yeah.
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 And once a month he goes to the clinic for dialysis, and they do all his meds. They check everything. And so I get like 4 days off that way. 'Cause I
Well,
do
and
it every other
this
day.
trip, a lot of, we're taking him. In fact, we got to leave here in a couple
Yeah,
hours
that's
to
right,
take him to
yeah.
dialysis. But you get, this is the first break you've had in like 7 months. I mean,
Yeah.
you're not having to do dialysis. In fact, yesterday was a great day for you. You actually went upstairs and took a nap and locked the door.
I know,
And
I
locked
didn't hear
him
you
out. It
knocking.
was a glorious moment. And we couldn't get in the room. And I had this epiphany. We had went down to the clerk twice, and he said, "I've never heard of a blinking yellow light on the door lock." He said, "Let me know." And I called Dad. I said, "Where are you?" And I said, "She's either in the shower or she's asleep. The door's locked." And you were sound asleep.
Oh, yeah.
Joyous, peaceful, quiet, not babysitting your husband's sleep. What
That's
was that like?
Well, nice. I mean, I was watching TV, but I just fell asleep right there in the chair.
Well, you've been a part of every single reunion you've never missed.
That's right.
In fact, you do all the name tags, all the signs, all the different stuff. Do you have a favorite reunion, a favorite memory, like a favorite moment that you would share with us?
Well, Hooters was a lot of fun. It was fun. Yeah, to be in Vegas, that's fun.
Why was it so much fun? Like, what was the dynamic that was so good?
Well, it was still pretty, it was only the third reunion, and it was, or was it the second?
Second.
Second one,
Second.
yeah, and it was just, DC was fun, but it was kind of chaotic, but it was a lot of fun, because I'd never been there. But yeah, Vegas, I'd been there before, and it was fun. I just liked it.
We've had a lot of speakers over the years.
Many.
Any speakers that you remember that stood out to you that you liked?
Oh, gosh. I can't think of anything right now, but
How
I
about
thought they
you?
were- all the
Anybody
speakers were
anybody
always good.
remember any of the speakers that over the years that you had at the reunions?
well,
Diane the nurse.
yeah,
that was emotional.
very emotional.
Steve, what was the
Steve.
Patience Mason?
Yeah, she,
Who was the World War II POW? What was his name? No, not Paul
no,
Ander.
he was-
He was. This was Vietnam POW.
yeah,
I thought his name was Steve. Steve Long.
Steve Long,
Steve
that's
Long.
right, yeah, he was good.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Paul Anders came. He was a hoot. That was good. Yes, sir. Billy Cheney. That was
yeah.
at the first one in Branson at the Plaza.
Branson.
Billy Cheney. Yeah. So, what's it like for you? How many hours, if you could say, have you been on the other end, seeing the phone calls? I mean,
Oh, many.
is it
many.
thousands of hours? Thousands?
Probably over the years, yeah.
Who do you think's the vet he talks to the most?
I'm not sure. How many do you think?
Which
Which
vet
one
do
have
you
you
talk?
talked to
Which
the
vet
most?
do you think reaches out to you the most? Which vet do you talk to the most? Now, like in a, yeah.
And Grim, too. He's been talking to
Grim-
Grim more.
Grim a
yeah,
lot, yeah.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Staying connected.
I don't know, because he'll be up in his office talking to people. I'll be down in my office in the basement.
Yeah. So, to anything about your life that we don't know, I want you to think about one thing that we don't know about you, and I want you to share it with us. What's something that'll surprise us about you, about your life, like maybe a hobby or an interest, or what's something we don't know about you?
Well, you probably know I love science fiction and Star Trek and all those, the movie, everything. I like that a lot. I love my cats. Of course, everybody probably knows that from Facebook.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
Ask her what it was like when I first started looking for the guys, and I'd get one on speakerphone, and she'd be sitting behind me.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
yeah, I'd be in the room with him, sitting
Yeah.
there, and a lot of crying. I would cry a lot.
You
Hearing
crying
all
or
this-
they cry?
Well, probably both of us, but
Yeah.
yeah, very emotional to hear these guys after so many years for him. And their stories that they told, it was just unbelievable.
Do you think your life would, when you think about how the veterans, like us being here for the reunion, let's just go back in time. What would your life have been like? No vet reunions, no reconnection with veterans. I mean, can you hardly imagine what it would have been
I
like?
can't really imagine what it would have been like.
I mean,
Yeah.
this has been a
It's
game
like
changer.
a whole new family for both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, whole new family. Now, I feel like I have to ask this, but I already know your answer. Tell us who your favorite Wolfhound is.
Yeah, you know who it is.
I know. I just want
You
you to.
know.
I just want him
I
to
love
hear.
you all, but Big Joe.
You know, she still has that picture of Big Joe flexing his muscles, right? But
It's in my office. I want to put it in the home theater room, but I don't want John to look over at me and see it next to me, so I don't want to make him jealous.
well, you have been the heart and soul behind my dad. You have been the courage, the strength, and especially in this last season. Honestly, I don't know where he would be if it wasn't for you. You've been right there driving, caring, nurturing, and we just don't have the words to say thanks. Thanks for taking care of him and loving him, and you're invaluable, your strength. I think you said it right. I don't think you realize the strength you had inside of you. It's become so evident how much strength you have and courage inside you have.
Thank you.
So
I do my best.
yeah, well, we will let you off the hook now. Thanks a lot
Okay.
for your time.
All righty.